Hello, my friends. Welcome to part two of my conversation with Jenni Milward. In light of the recent resurrection of the Angel of Darkness, I've decided to do something a bit different with part two. To spark interest for diving into Jenni's novels as the natural follow up to Tomb Raider 4 through 6 Remastered, we'll keep things short and sweet. As I've said before, it's my opinion that it's merely a corporate technicality that Jenni's novelization of the Angel of Darkness and sequel novels is not the definitive continuation of Core Design's Lara Croft. In this short episode, Jenni and I will discuss perhaps the most terrifying ordeal that Lara Croft has experienced in any Tomb Raider timeline, and how Jenni chose to craft this experience for the reader. In this episode, we discuss Lara's encounter with the character Rouzic, as detailed in Jenni's second Angel of Darkness novel, The Path of the Black Alchemist. It's essentially spoiler-free, but hints at the chilling nature of what lies in store for the reader. And now, with the same soon-to-be replaced poor-quality microphone with which I spoke to you in part one, I present to you Jenni Milward. Tell me if I'm saying this character's name right, because now I think I might not be. But I wanted to talk about Rouzic. Um, Rouzic. Am I saying that name right?
Yeah, now you see, I said that as his pronunciation all these years, and then we discovered that the Slavic slash Czech way of saying it is Ruzic.
That
Now,
explains it. That's why I was
yeah,
confused. Because
yeah.
whenever I was listening to the podcast where you were talking about Angel of Darkness with Chris in Raidercast,
Mhm.
he said what I he started talking about this character Ruzic, which I still don't know if that's
Mhm.
exactly right. I'm dumb American. We speak basically one language and that's it. So we're,
No, it varies. People will pronounce it differently depending on where they are, and it is, quite a common name in the sort of the middle to Eastern European into the Baltic states and further north as well into sort of the Poland territory. So yeah, Murty is happy, I think, with either pronunciation, but I don't know, Ruzic seems to suit him slightly better. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
I do like that. Yeah, but I was confused because I watched that podcast. I was like, oh, I know what character they're talking about, and then I came back to
Mhm.
prepare for this one, and I looked at the name, and I was like, I don't think I've been saying. I must have been saying that wrong because this is. I don't remember Chris or Jenny saying Ruzic in that podcast, but I will do my best with Ruzic.
Okay.
That's I will
Yes.
do that. But anyway, let's talk about this character because the reason that I wanted to bring up this character is because that whole sequence in Path of the Black Alchemist, I thought showcased so well something that we talked about last week, and that was what is going on inside Lara's head that produces the outward behavior of her, and it's a truly
Mhm.
terrifying situation with Ruzic and his guests, as they refer. And I just
Mhm.
really loved how Lara is actually starting to crack there, and we can see
Mhm.
it happening inside her head, where she's
Mhm.
trying to maintain composure, but it's so disturbing what she's
Mhm.
witnessing that we get to see it happen in real time, where she starts to crack and she actually
Mhm.
starts to show fear, which is just something I love seeing in strong characters. I
Mhm.
love seeing them pushed to the brink like this. I
Mhm.
think it's so interesting and fascinating. So yeah, not
Yeah.
really a question, but I just go off.
No, you're right. There's no point in saying that your character is strong and courageous if you never put them into a situation where they need to be strong and courageous. Um, very few characters are completely fearless, and I think it's actually a detriment if you're going to have fearlessness be a trait of your main protagonist, because yeah, fear is there for a damn good reason, and a wise character, especially a hero, will live with the fear, they'll accept it and embrace it and then move past it. I mean, the famous litany against fear from Frank Herbert's Dune comes into play here. It's a case of, I recognize that this is a terrifying situation, but I'm not going to allow the fear to dominate me. I am going to acknowledge that it's there, that it's justified, and then I'm going to actually show courage, which is to move past that point and stay rational and take action that will get you out of that situation rather than just succumbing to it, which is what unfortunately happens to a great many people who come face to face with Luther. Quite understandably, he
Hmm.
is a terrifyingly wonderful character, and in all the best like traditions of Clive Barker's Hellraiser, the Cenobites, and all these other sort of, Marquis de Sade, and all these other sadistic, body horror obsessed serial killers that have fascinated all of us throughout
Hmm.
history. So he was a great distillation of all the worst things that we are all terrified of meeting. Great deal of fun to write. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and
But
and
not for the squeamish.
yeah, and I think it might even be best if we leave it, if we don't describe specifically what she witnesses whenever she's captured by Rouzic, because
Well, indeed. I mean,
it's
deliberately
it
wanted to keep it vague.
because
Um,
I think it makes it
yeah,
sound like an interesting thing to read, like and
yeah. You don't want to be like there is definitely a place for extreme graphic violence and such scenes. There's even a very niche genre within the niche horror genre called splatterpunk, which Clive Barker falls into a great deal with his particularly with things like his Books of Blood anthology of short stories. The violence in there is absolutely atrocious, but it's almost poetic as well.
Mhm.
And it has, most importantly, and this is the thing that a lot of people overlook, it has a very important underlying message about society or about a particular character, and it's kind of like a reflection in the outside world of what's going on inside. So when I came to write Ruther, Ruther, Luther Rouzic, sorry, I'm tired.
Oh no, you're doing
Um,
great.
my The thing I really wanted to show with him is that you can be graphic and violent and terrifying, but also have that like poeticness about it.
Hmm.
And for anybody who is listening and hasn't actually read that particular chapter, where we go to the archives and to Ruzic's private little amusement chamber, um, I hint more than I explicitly state out, and that was more, or that was always going to be my aim. I mean,
Hmm.
Angel of Darkness itself was like it wasn't a high rating for maturity and everything, but neither was it just PG. It was like straddling the line where it suggests a lot of dark stuff without always being explicit about it. So I didn't want to make like an R-rated horror movie here.
Yeah,
I
kind of like.
wanted to keep it yeah, I wanted to keep it within the same kind of rating maturity level that the Angel of Darkness originally was. You can have so much fun even in that limited rating. So yeah, Lara will see and smell and experience things that would, yeah, they are straight out of a Hellraiser film,
Hmm.
but they are not like I'm not going into extraordinarily graphic detail about it. And sometimes I think that's the best way of doing it because you're never ever going to outclass somebody else's imagination. So if you just sort of lead them long enough down the path that they can't help but fill in the blanks, they are going
Yeah.
to fill in the blanks far more explicitly than anything you could ever physically write. And that to me is the balance. That's the art in it. So yeah, Ruzic is a perfect opportunity to explore that really dark side
Yeah.
and that really horror aspect. That we really are going.
Mhm.
I mean, Angel of Darkness has always had horror elements to it, but that sort of sequence and that escape is full blown horror.
Mhm.
It's with
Yes,
not even pretending to be anything else.
and Lara provided this excellent vehicle in order to express that because she did it so excellently. Because we know her as just being incredibly strong and
Hmm.
almost fearless. But
Mm.
but when you the way you write that sequence is you let us know that she is starting to crack and
Oh yeah.
she's finding what she's experiencing truly disturbing, which then in turn makes
Oh
the
yeah.
reader find it truly disturbing because
Yeah.
and
Everybody's got their limits. Yeah.
and which
Even Lara.
I thought that was just done so well, and I really
Mm,
love that sequence, and
mm,
it reminds me, yeah, so Angel of Darkness does have this theme of a lot of really really dark stuff that's not directly
mm,
shown to you. For example, like with the monstrum
mm,
in the game,
mm,
um,
mm,
with the reporter, we do eventually see a little bit of it, but we also have like Lara saying to who she thinks is Bouchard. Um, uh,
mm.
why are the bodies? Why does he destroy the bodies in
Yeah,
that way? That why does he
yeah,
do that? Why does he mutilate them in that way that he does? And I remember not
yes.
really. I can't remember if the game had told us what it was at that point yet, or if I had just missed it. But it
Mm,
definitely hadn't been made explicit. We were just sort of um,
no.
it was sort of this indirect thing, which yeah, that can be a lot
Yeah,
creepier than that can be a lot
yeah.
scarier than if we're
Mm.
shown things directly. So yeah, and I love the way you
Oh,
did that
very
with that
much so.
sequence. Yeah.
Thank you. Like I say, I really wanted to show that. I mean, Lara is at one of her lowest points at that by that time in the story, and I really wanted to emphasize that. So, like, fresh out of off manor, she's only just started everything. She's well rested, she's well fed, she's all well equipped. Not really a problem. Um, but at that point, she's been on the run for nearly a week. She's hardly been eating properly. She's hardly been sleeping properly. She's had her weapons confiscated. She's in a really dark place herself and right at the lowest point herself. So it wasn't a case of, her normal recourse being to be her usual resourceful self and just shoot the guy because, let's be honest, you
Hmm.
just want to take a flamethrower to him. She doesn't have that. So yeah, Rouzic is more terrifying, I think, in that situation because she is more vulnerable. And it's yeah, I like the fact that she can escape him without resorting to the usual like dual pistols or a rocket
Hmm.
launcher or some other typically,
Yeah.
action-packed Croft sort of stuff. She has to use her brains. She has to maintain her composure and think her way out of the problem. And that
And
to me is another side of the courageous side. You've
yeah.
not just being paralyzed by fear, you're able to move across from that.
Hmm.
And that's what she's so good at doing.
Yeah. I will leave it. I will leave those who read it to discover for themselves. But I'll simply say that the way she ends up escaping is it's very clever. Both you in writing
Mm.
it and the way that she actually did it, and a little bit lucky.
Thank you.
Which I remember.
Well, yeah, look, Crofts always had a
Hmm.
strong dose of luck on
Yeah.
her side, even when she makes it herself.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
the way
this is definitely a situation where she says, I make my own luck. Well, yeah, she really does.
yeah, maybe sometimes by accident, but yeah, it was. But
Hey, if it gets her through it, then she's not going to be choosy, I don't think so.
yeah, it worked. Find what you need.
Mhm.
Find if the opportunity arises. And but yeah, I love the way you wrote that. I thought it was a great end to that sequence. So,
Thank you.
and that's it for part two, my friends. As you may have noticed, it was short. And that's because I really wanted to focus on a section of our conversation that I thought may be a good teaser for Jenni's work in the wake of the release of Tomb Raider 4 to 6 Remastered. You will find links to her website in the description below where you can read her work for free. In part three, we will discuss the future of the franchise and its most recent era. We will discuss what we think went right as well as not so right. Yes, including me. So stay tuned, y'all. Have a good one.